Good morning, everyone, and welcome again to another public webinar. My name is Dr. Tinesha Parbo, and I know you guys are usually used to seeing me introducing another speaker, but for today, I am going to be the speaker. So we're going to be speaking today on Mercury matters. So what dental amalgam is all about, why it is being phased down in South Africa currently, and how it connects to a treaty which is known as the Minamata Treaty or Minamata Convention. Okay, so let's look at what is dental amalgam. Dental amalgam is essentially a very common material that has been used in dental fillings for over 150 years. It is made of mercury, which is plus minus 50% of its composition, and this is then mixed with silver, tin, and copper. Amalgam is very popular because it has been known for many years because of how strong it is. It is very durable, and in general, it is just also very affordable. But because of the fact that it contains mercury, it has raised some health concerns as well as environmental concerns. First, let's look at what the benefits of amalgam are. So, amalgam is strong and long lasting, like we've said. Generally, it's quite cost effective when you compare it to other filling materials. So, it has been used a lot in the public sector. It's easier to place because it is resistant to moisture during placement. And you can all imagine you have a lot of saliva when you are having a restoration put into your mouth, and it doesn't really affect the amalgam all that much. And then also the amalgam is easy to handle and polish. So once it's placed, you just have to go back the next day, and you can have the restoration then polished by the dentist so it becomes nice and shiny and smooth. But now let's think about why is mercury that is contained within amalgam a concern? So the thing is, when you are having an amalgam filling placed or you're having an amalgam filling taken out, there is mercury vapor that is then released into the environment. Also, if there is amalgam fillings that are or amalgam material that is not being disposed of properly, this can end up polluting the water and end up harming wildlife because it ends up building up in fish, shellfish, and any animals that eat fish. And obviously, humans consume a lot of fish. So this then becomes the main exposure of, or the main source of exposure of mercury to humans. So let us look at the Mercury cycle. We have Mercury that cycles through the Earth's atmosphere, the oceans, and the rocks in the ocean. And then what happens is that Mercury then from the environment goes into the water and becomes converted into a chemical known as monomethyl mercury. And this is actually a neurotoxin. So a neurotoxin means that it is toxic or poisonous to the neural elements of the system, so the nerves. This then will move up the food chain and it becomes highly concentrated in specific fish like tuna, swordfish, and any other seafoods, which is then consumed by human beings, which then can lead to mercury poisoning or mercury toxicity in human beings. Let us look at what is the Minamata Convention. So this is what is the main spark that caused the mercury concern. So it is actually a treaty, and it's a global treaty, and it was adopted back in 2013 to try and reduce mercury pollution all across the world. The name Minamata actually comes from a place in Japan, which is a site where mercury poisoning actually happened. And since that, the Minamata Convention has focused on reducing mercury use, and this includes dental amalgam, but also all other settings because mercury can be found in blood pressure machines, it can be found in light bulbs. So it's basically all the centers that will contain mercury in some way, shape, or form will also be reduced. And over 140 countries in the world, including South Africa, have signed the Minamata Treaty or Convention. So if you look at this representation, a global representation. All of the green, or the countries that are highlighted in green, have actually signed the Minamata Treaty and are either contributing to the phase out or the phase down of dental amalgam in that country, as well as the phase out of other mercury containing products. Let's look at where South Africa is with the phase down plan of dental amalgam. So South Africa basically have aligned with the Minamata Convention commitments, which means that they are following the following key steps. They have introduced new policies which will limit amalgam use in children, pregnant or breastfeeding women. They have started to improve training, especially in the public facilities as well as the academic institutions, on alternative materials other than amalgam. They have also, the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment have introduced new regulations, which are the regulations on the management of mercury. And these aim to strengthen waste management systems by using amalgam separators in dental chairs. An amalgam separator is basically just a piece of equipment that is installed into the suction system of the dental chair, and it helps to filter out all of the amalgam particles so that that doesn't go into the water system. And also the regulations also specify that amalgam waste must be recycled, and it must be disposed of in a safe manner or very specific manner that prevents mercury vapor release into the environment. Now, you must be thinking, what are the alternatives? If I can't have an amalgam filling, what can I have? So you can have a composite resin filling. So this would be a tooth-colored filling. It is durable, it lasts long, and it's also mercury-free. Otherwise, you can have a glass ionomer cement, which is also very good because it doesn't have mercury. It releases fluoride, and it's usually not very technique sensitive. So it does become more ideal in the scenario for children. The problem with these is that they are much more costly and they are quite technique sensitive. So resins and glass ionomer cements are a little bit more difficult to place when it comes to, if you compare it to amalgam. However, in the dental industry, there is research that is now continuing into safer, more sustainable materials than amalgam. So let's look lastly at what this means for you as a patient. So generally, all those countries that I showed you on that map are in the process of phasing out or phasing down the use of dental amalgam. So this means that when you now go to your dental clinic or your dental practice, you may not necessarily be offered dental amalgam as a restoration option. What you can do is, if you are concerned about the mercury in dental amalgam, you can ask your dentist about mercury-free options when it comes to fillings, but it is also part of your responsibility to support environmentally responsible dental care. Now, does this mean that you need to now go out and immediately rush to replace all of the amalgam fillings that were maybe done 20 or 30 years ago? And the answer is no. You only need to replace amalgam fillings if they are fractured, if they are chipped or cracked, or you notice that there's some kind of decay under the amalgam filling, or even if a doctor has told you that you have a health condition like a mercury allergy, then we would suggest you replacing the amalgam fillings. But if the amalgam filling that you have right now is not symptomatic at all, then if you then you decide to replace the amalgam filling, it might cause an unnecessary loss of healthy tooth structure, as well as a temporary increase in mercury exposure when they are removing the filling, because as they have to drill into the filling, like we said, mercury vapor is then released into the environment, which then exposes you to that mercury vapor. So the takeaway here is, you don't need to necessarily replace those amalgam fillings only if you find that there is an issue with the filling, or if you don't like the way the filling looks. But then obviously the amalgam will have to be removed in a safe manner. So that brings me to the end of my little presentation. But please, if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to me. My email address is clinical@sada.co.za, and I can just try and answer any more concerns or questions that you have in the phase down of amalgam in South Africa.